Hello there, everyone watching from home, from school, from the office, everywhere you're watching. We are having a live chat right now with the ADP governorship candidate for Lagos, Mr. Babatunde Gbadamosi. He's a real estate developer. He's the managing director of Red Bricks International Limited. And a month ago, he emerged the ADP flag bearer for Lagos governorship election with over 119,000 votes. Welcome to Pulse, sir.
Thank you, Jude.
Yeah, rich
nice
CV, yeah, like I just read. But a couple of months ago, you were with the PDP.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, you were never with the PDP?
I was with the PDP up until about a year and a half ago.
Okay. Okay, so you left the PDP for the ADP?
No, when I left the PDP, what I did was I resigned from politics entirely.
Okay.
It just wasn't doing it for me. I wanted a change, and PDP was not ready in Lagos State, at least, to deliver the kind of change that we wanted. First of all, they didn't seem to be interested in, winning the elections. You can only tell
this. Do you still feel that way, that they're not interested in winning the election?
Oh yeah. You can only tell that by people's actions, what their intentions are. You can't tell by what they say. I've learned that in politics. You can't really trust what people say. You can only trust what they do. And over the last 19 years, PDP, well, if they had any intentions of winning in 1999 and 2003, if some elements in PDP had intentions to win, they certainly didn't have any intention to win in subsequent elections. And that's something that I don't agree with. I don't believe in politics for the sake of politics, gratuitous politics, if you like to call it that. I don't believe in that. I believe that we're in politics to make a difference, a positive difference to the lives of our people. And since PDP Lagos State was not interested in doing that, I had to move on.
So this wasn't a case of you didn't get the ticket, or you were not sure you were going to get the ticket from the PDP. So
no. It wasn't just that. I mean, look, after the 2015, after the 2014 primaries, it was clear that some of us had been hard done by, that the primaries were not transparent. I mean, just the sheer arithmetic of it all. The idea that 816 delegates were accredited, and then when the votes were counted, somehow we got 863 votes. That straight away made it clear that it was an exercise, it was a shambolic exercise. It wasn't just about not getting the ticket. Because I was hard done by at that time, promises came from all sorts of angles that, next time we'll give it to you. So there was some measure of assurance that the PDP was ready to give me the ticket, but I still wasn't sure that even after getting the ticket, one would be able to rely on certain members of the PDP to not sabotage the efforts to win the election.
There's a school of thought out there that says the PDP candidate, Jimmy Agbaje, is only a mole it's like an APC mole, and that he's just not serious about winning the election. If you look at it in totality, I mean, does this buttress in any way, does it buttress your points?
I can't really comment on any other person's aspiration or candidacy. Like I said, you can only tell what people are about by what they do and not by what they say.
Okay, so why are you in the race?
I'm in the race because I'm tired and fed up to the teeth of living in a space with no electricity, of living in a space with no water, of living half my life in traffic like millions of other Lagosians. I'm tired of it. I've been tired of it since 2003, and it just seems to be getting worse progressively. By 2010, I'd made up my mind that, I think I can do better than these guys that have held everybody by the jugular in Lagos, and deliver better infrastructure.
So sorry to cut you there a bit. You said these guys will have held Lagos by the jugular.
Yes.
Can you like elaborate a bit on
Well,
that?
since 1999, there's only been one political tendency that has run Lagos. In fact, let's just say that there's only been one man who has,
Care to give a name?
Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
Okay.
who has, basically held Lagos State, the entire 24 million people of Lagos under his thumb, like so. And, there comes a time when people must stand up for what they believe in. People must stand up for their freedom, and I think that time has come. That time has come.
So you see yourself as the man who will take Lagos off the Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Oh, no, it's not about me.
Bottle.
It's not about me. It's about the people of Lagos deciding that they no longer want to be toys in the hands of a man.
Interesting. But do you really realistically think you stand a chance against Babajide, Sanwo-Olu, and Jimmy Agbaje? I mean, aside the other candidates in the race.
If I didn't think so, I wouldn't be in the race. If I didn't think that whoever it was that the APC were going to bring, was not going to stand a chance, I would not put myself in the race. I wouldn't do that. As you know, I've never really been on the ballot. I've only ever contested within the PDP. Okay, but now for the first time, I am on the ballot. We're giving Lagosians a choice, in terms of the possibilities for the next governor of Lagos State.
So, in a nutshell, what's your Gbadamosi plan for Lagos? What does it really entail?
As things stand now, Lagos does not have an economy. What Lagos has is a squeeze economy, an economic system where the government continues to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze residents of Lagos, corporates and individual, for as much as they can give and for as long as they will give it, until they either die or they fold up as a business. And that's what's been happening, that has caused Lagos to lose the title of the most industrialized state in Nigeria to Ogun State. Ogun is now more industrialized than Lagos because a lot of industries ran away. They couldn't take it anymore. And all of this squeezing is taking place without a commensurate or equal and opposite investment in infrastructure, public utilities and services. And there's only so much that the people can take. So they keep making noise about building this bridge and building that road. But the true test of any work that's been done is its effect on the people. Are you spending less time in traffic now, today, than you were spending in 2015? That's a true test. Are you spending less time are you spending less money on petrol for your generator, on diesel for your generator than you were 3 years ago? Are you? Obviously not.
But
Are you paying less for food?
Power isn't under the purview of the Lagos State government.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
To fix electricity. Isn't that
yes,
a federal government?
The law changed in 2005.
Okay.
In 2005, a number of power laws were enacted, power sector laws were enacted, and one of them allowed for state governments or local governments to build their own grids and, power them. Okay, so we can actually, within the purview of the current existing law, we can actually create captive power grids within, say, for instance, on a ward-by-ward basis or on a local government-by-local government basis. We can create new power networks, and that's what we plan to do. Okay, so the first thing we plan to do is to build an economy. In order to build an economy, you have to have the least possible resistance from the guys that are, supposedly going to deliver that economy, and that's the civil service. So we start with transparency in the civil service, a better compensation culture, a better consequence culture in the civil service. So we don't have this situation where civil servants go to work just so they can say they turned up We want a situation where civil servants go to work and they actually work, that we pay for their time. At the moment, we can't honestly say that we're paying for their time. I mean, look at the minimum wage argument that's going on. Governors are talking about giving people a minimum wage of 22,500 naira. I mean, I don't know what that's about. I can't understand it. I don't think it will fly. I don't think we'll get the best from our civil servants with that kind of compensation culture in mind. And therefore, I'm not going to go along with that when I become Lagos State Governor. I want to compete for the best brains that we have to deliver the best services to our people.
Under a Gbadamosi governorship administration in Lagos, how much will you pay for as minimum wage?
It all depends on the economic indices at the time. But if I were governor today, minimum wage today would be not less than 50,000 a month.
But some states are saying, look, we can't afford it.
Well, then they should shut down. This is why we're talking about restructuring. Because the way Nigeria is set up, some of these states are set up to fail. They're completely unviable. They're just leeches.
Now, if there's a blanket minimum wage, which is the argument the state governors are having, I mean, you don't expect a state governor in Zamfara State or Yobe State to be able to afford 50,000 naira.
Well, then they
minimum
need to
wage.
They need to be creative. They need to be creative. They need to find ways of generating revenue without necessarily oppressing their people too much. They need to find ways around it. They have solid minerals, don't they, in the north? They have agriculture.
But some of these governors, in their defense, they say, look, it's easier said than done, because most of these minerals, you cannot even take them off the ground without seeking permission from the center, because they are under what is called...
Well, they've been in charge of Nigeria for the last 70 years.
Okay? Not the governors, right?
Well, that part of the country has more or less been in charge of Nigeria, and they pretty much do what they please. So those excuses don't wash, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Okay, so let's come back to Lagos, which is why we are here. Look at the roads, for instance. The roads are, I mean, depending on the roads are a mess.
Yes.
Pothole reading everywhere.
Yes.
What's the plan if you become governor? What are the plans?
As I was saying,
the plan for roads, fixing our roads.
We want to start with transparency in the civil service. We want to start with a better compensation culture, which will then afford us the right to demand better service from our civil servants and to demand that there should be no corruption and to be able to come down heavily on corruption. Once we improve the compensation culture, the next thing will be to build the economy on 5 pillars. Tourism, which is the lowest hanging fruit, because we're endowed with natural features that make Lagos an attractive prospect in the hands of an imaginative government. Okay, so you've got tourism, you've got industry, you've got agriculture, you've got technology, which we're nowhere with that one at the moment, but we can be with some effort. And then finally, you've got entertainment, for which we have a leading edge. We have a built-in advantage with the fact that Nollywood is headquartered more or less in Lagos State. And of course, the music industry as well. And these two industries are now global, at least with regard to the Nigerianness of them. Okay, and they're accepted worldwide, but there hasn't been any concerted effort on the part of the Lagos State government to actually harness the benefits that exist in these two industries and use them for the betterment of the state. We can do this without being intrusive, and that's what we plan to do. We're going to be what you'd call a benign presence, really not intrusive, just hovering in the background, giving what we can, doing what we can. One of the things we want to do is work hard on intellectual property protection for the industry, to ensure that when people actually labor, they're the only ones that get to eat the fruits of their labor and not somebody else hiding somewhere, wherever, ripping off their intellectual property.
Okay, every Lagosian watching this would be like, yes, we have traffic, which you mentioned. The traffic is killing everybody. And it appears to be like the problem is the landmass of Lagos, which is smaller than most. I think it's the smallest landmass.
Listen, let me just say something very quickly so that we don't get our facts twisted. There's a country called Singapore. Singapore is one of the most highly developed countries in the world. But would you believe me if I told you that Singapore is only 20% the size of Lagos? Average commute time in Singapore, that is the time it takes to get from home to work, on average, is 40 minutes. They have 10 rail lines that are functional right now and over 100 train stations. They have 2 additional rail lines planned and perhaps even more as time goes on. They have 210 primary schools, state-funded, 167 state-funded secondary schools, 5 state-funded universities, 5 general hospitals, 3 specialist hospitals, all of these state-funded, and in a territory that is roughly about the size of Ibejuleke local government and Ekpe local government put together. They have one of the best airlines in the world, Singapore Airlines. So Lagos has no argument.
But not the same population.
They have a population of 5.3 million people and therefore a higher population density than Lagos. They have 7,500 people per square kilometer. Lagos has 4,900 people per square kilometer, going by the latest estimates.
So it's not a problem of landmass. It's
At
a
all.
problem of...
It's a problem of lack of attention to infrastructure. We haven't had any major infrastructural input in the last 19 years. The Lekki-Ekpe Expressway was the last major road built by Lagos. And that was built by the Jakonde administration 35 years ago.
The current APC government has been constructing bridges.
Really? Where? And at what cost?
We have one in Naija.
Yes,
I think there are
we know we have one in Naija, but how long did that take? They gave it to an incompetent company that sat there for about almost 2 years before the bridge was completed. That's a job that could have been done in about 8 months. Okay? And the other question that I like to ask, which I'm sure nobody in Lagos has the answer to, how much does that bridge cost? How much does it cost us, taxpayers, in Lagos? How much does the bridge at Abule Egba cost us, taxpayers, in Lagos? The idea that somebody can become governor and then start treating our collective funds as if it's his father's money, that we have no right to ask.
You're saying the Ambode administration is treating Lagos funds like his father's money.
Like his personal money. And I don't blame him because he does have a monkey on his back.
Who is the
Bola
monkey?
Ahmed Tinubu is the monkey on his back. That's the same man that has now kicked him out of office and said that, he's not a party man. That he's not, what was the language? He's not servicing the party.
Not a loyal party man.
Not a loyal party man.
To use his exact
words. I can understand the idea of, the idea of loyalty to the party, but what is the indicator? And the popular position, the popular opinion out there is that what that meant was that he was not giving enough money to the party or to party members.
That's your own interpretation of
it's not my interpretation. That's the word out there on the street.
Okay. What out there on the street is different from what is actually happening on the ground. It's different from facts.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. You have been studying the politics of Lagos for a while. And compared to the...
You asked about the Gbadamosi plan for Lagos.
Yeah, okay,
and I haven't quite finished.
Okay. Sorry to cut you.
So the next step, to build the economy on those legs, you need infrastructure, you need services, you need utilities, you need electricity, water, you need good roads, just like you mentioned now. You need a functional rail service, you need a functional wired telephone service, fiber optic network throughout the state. You need all of those to be able to make any sort of sense of the economy. So what do? We can't do it all at once. It's not possible.
I was going to ask you that 4 years is a pretty short time to do all of these things.
No, we can't do it all at once. What we're going to do is take it in bits. So what we plan to do is take 8 local governments, okay, and we're picking them based on the potential economic benefits that they can deliver very quickly to Lagosians. So first we're looking at industrial capacity, and the 6 most industrialized local governments in Lagos State are Oshodi Solo, Mushin, Ikeja, Ikorodu, Ibejuleki, and Apapa. All right? Then the second criteria, because we're looking for the lowest hanging fruit, like I said before, is tourism potential. All right? And there are 3 local governments in Lagos State with excellent tourism potential that we could tap like really quickly. And those are Badagry, Etiosa, and Ibejuleki, primarily because of the Atlantic coast, the beach. Okay? So how do we exploit the natural endowments of these 3 local governments? Well, we make them accessible. Right now, the Atlantic coastline in Etiosa and Ibejuleki are not very accessible because there is no road. There are no roads leading directly to them. It's not easy to access the beach. If you're going to Oniru Beach now, you have to go through Legali Ayorinde and, run the gauntlet of a lot of traffic junctions and so on. If you're going to Elegushi Beach, it's the same story. You go through a lot of potholes, higgledy-piggledy dance here and there before you eventually get there. Now, we want to eliminate that completely and also make the beachfront a viable location for hotels and holiday resorts. So from Legali Ayorinde all the way to Odilmi, on the border of Ogun State, we're going to be building a 10-lane expressway, which we hope to finish in 18 months.
Is that possible?
Yes, it is. Jakonde built the original Lekki-Ekpe Expressway in 3 years, 35 years ago. So unless we're reversing, I'd say that, given the advances in construction technology since 35 years ago, it's possible to set a timetable to build a 10-lane expressway.
Where would the money come from? I mean,
Alphabeta, the money we're paying to Alphabeta, for instance, can help with that. I'm going to be sacking Alphabeta. I make no apologies about that. Okay?
What's Alphabeta for people who don't know?
Alphabeta Consulting is apparently a tax consultancy that takes about 15% of all the internally generated revenue that Lagos State makes on a monthly basis.
Do you know who owns this Alphabeta?
I have no idea. Some guy came up recently and said he was the managing director, and that he'd been kicked out, and that Alphabeta was not paying taxes, and made all sorts of allegations. Of course, our friends in the media have killed that story, so to speak. Thank God for social media.
We're not one of them.
Thank God for social media. The man was able to go to Twitter and make all these things public. Of course, blind anti-corruption authorities refused to follow that up, refused to follow up his allegations. And so we're where we are. But I plan to get rid of Alphabeta and use the money that they're getting at the moment to develop the state.
Interesting. You're done with enumerating your plan now?
No, I'm not quite finished.
Okay.
So we put roads in place. But as part of the what we're calling the Lagos Integrated Regeneration Plan, the LRIP, the 6 industrialized local governments, we will be rebuilding them. We'll be rebuilding all their infrastructure, all their services, and all their utilities, root and branch. So total redesign of the roads, total redesign of the roadways, putting in pedestrian sidewalks, which we don't have at the moment, okay, putting in better drainage systems than we have now, so that we can, even if we can't completely, totally eliminate flooding, because you can't rule out the fact that sometimes sheer volume of water can cause flash flooding, okay, we can mitigate it significantly so that you don't have pools of stagnant water standing all over the place. Okay. Another problem that we have in Lagos is the lack of central sewage system. So our sanitation is really bad. Everybody has a soakaway in their backyard, and not far from the soakaway there's a borehole sucking the same water, the same sewage water that's going into the ground, sucking it back up into the tank at the top of the house. Hence the high prevalence of gastrointestinal diseases in Lagos. And we can eliminate that by ensuring that each local government has a central sewage system. The power networks, we're going to rebuild the power networks completely. I'm done with overhead wires. We're not going that way anymore. If you go to Amen Estate, our electrical network is all underground, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
So you're going to get rid of all the wires, and they'll all be underground.
We're going to give people a choice to either go with
underground cable,
the new networks that we're going to be putting in place in every local government. So we're breaking down the grid, okay, to local government level. So each local government will get its own mini grid. The whole eco distribution, Ikeja distribution idea has failed. It has failed Lagosians. We've not been able to produce enough or provide enough electricity for our people. And we're going with a world-accepted model of 1,000 megawatts per million people. We have 24 million people in Lagos, so we're going with a minimum, an absolute minimum of 20,000 megawatts for Lagos on a local government by local government basis, roughly about 1,000, maybe 1,500 megawatts per local government. And that is going to be local. So each local government will get its own IPP, either through private participation or through public investment, either of the two. What needs to be done, whatever it is that's going to make it work, that's what we're going to do.
Okay. Just listening to you now, I'm wondering if this is not building castles in the air.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. And I'll underline it for you. The last known cost of any infrastructure in Lagos is that of the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway. We're aware that the LCC borrowed $382 million, 42 million of it from Lagos State, from the Lagos State government in 2006 when Bola Tinubu was governor, and the remainder $340 million from a consortium of financial institutions. The African Development Bank, UBA Capital, Stanbic IBTC, and the Standard Bank of South Africa each contributed to that loan, to that syndicated loan, $85 million in 2006. That was after Lagos State government had first borrowed, had first lent them $42 million from our public purse. So, if you look at it, the road expansion has spanned a length of just 23 kilometers of the 85-kilometer road. And if you divide $382 million by 23, you get $16.6 million per kilometer, which translates out at an incredible 6 billion naira per kilometer. All right? Of course, the APC, ACN, AD, whatever they're called, I have no doubt they're going to change their name after these next elections again.
You know that for a fact.
Well, you know, this is what they've always done, changing colors like chameleons. What's going to happen now is that we're going to change public sector procurement rules in Lagos State. We can't have a situation where we claim to be spending, or we allow some people to spend on our behalf billions of naira per kilometer for roads that shouldn't cost more than 250 million. Now, where did I get that 250 million from? In Ibejuleki, just down there, there's a refinery, the Dangote refinery. You're aware of it?
Yeah.
It's built on about 20,000 hectares of Lagos State land. In that complex, the Dangote Group issued a contract to Julius Berger Julius Berger, arguably Nigeria's most competent construction company, to build 44 kilometers of dual carriageway within the refinery complex. It cost 11 billion, the whole contract. That calculates out at 250 million naira per kilometer. Now, if Nigeria's richest man, or well, Nigeria's richest company, okay, is hiring Nigeria's best construction company and probably Nigeria's most expensive construction company to build roads at 250 million naira per kilometer, how is it that Lagos state government is signing an agreement that will allow some unknown company, because that's what high-tech was at the time they got the contract, by the time LCC won the concession to run the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway. How is it that Lagos state government allowed that company to claim a cost of 6 billion naira per kilometer and therefore tied Lagosians to an oppressive toll concession for the next 30 years? How do you explain that?
You suspect foul play, don't you?
Of course there is foul play. I don't have to suspect it. I've just laid the figures bare before you, unless you're in denial. And I'm not about to deny what I can see before me in plain color. So with those sort of costs in mind, if it's going to cost 250 million naira per kilometer to build a dual carriageway expressway, if I want 8 lanes, that means I'll be looking at 500 million per kilometer. Am I correct?
Yeah.
If I want 2 additional lanes, I'll be looking at an additional 125 million per kilometer. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So we're looking at roughly about 625 million per kilometer for a 10-lane expressway. And if you do the maths, if you're doing that over 100 kilometers, you're looking roughly at 62.5 billion naira. Is that money well spent? In your opinion?
From your maths, no.
I think it's money very well spent. I think it is. I think if we're getting a road similar to the Oshodi-Apapa Expressway that's going to run the entire length of the coastline all the way to Odeomi, I think it's an excellent investment. It opens up the entire corridor in a way that's never been done before. And then from that point, we can actually take the tolls off the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway and put it on that road. Okay?
But that means under your administration, in your administration, Lagosians will still be paying tolls.
Yes, but not on the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway.
What's the difference? I mean,
the difference is it'll be on a faster road. It'll be on a more useful road. Okay? It'll be on a road that has better connectivity to the rest of Nigeria, because what we plan to do is to collaborate with the governments of Ogun State, Ondo State, and Delta State, okay, to build their portions of the road until it gets to the East-West Road in Warri, and to therefore calculate out the tolls, share out the tolls between the states. That's the whole idea. So is it a more useful investment for Lagosians, especially Lagosians who are based in the East or in the South-South? Yes, it is. It's a more useful investment. It's better value for money. You can't tell me that I'm spending 10% of what they spent on the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway per kilometer, and I'm getting more road, 10 lanes, instead of just, 1 lane on either side, effectively. You can't tell me that that's not good value for money, sir.
Okay.